Welcome to Access a Trader, the #1 community for those who are committed to taking control of their trading in order to achieve success, profitability, and longevity. Thank you for joining us. Here's Dan Shapiro to help you find your edge, master your process, and own your future.
Hey guys, good evening everybody. Welcome to another edition of the AccessATrader.com nightly update show. Hope everybody is doing well. As the old saying goes, may you live in interesting times. That is an absolute understatement. If you can be so kind, do me a favor, guys, support the channel. Click a like on the video. It takes 1 second. And hopefully, again, I can continue to, pretty much guide you through this wonderful, wonderful maze, the greatest reality show that's not on television. So unless you've been living under a rock, you kind of know what happened in the last 24 hours. But let's kind of talk about it from the trading aspect of it. Let's rewind, right? If you guys remember on Monday, right? If you guys remember on Monday, there was a rumor out from the White House. I believe, I forgot the guy's name, forgive me, but I think it was Bassett, if I recall. There was a rumor that the White House, pretty much gave a green light for a 90-day pause in the tariffs. We were very, very fortunate. We were already long when that news came out, and that was kind of that big, big move in NVIDIA and Meta and, pretty much everything with PLTR, but those are the three names we were long, so that was awesome, but got refuted, right? It got refuted by the White House, and they said, I don't know what we're talking about here. So the market imploded, right? Absolutely imploded. And if you chased that headline, you got killed. The next day, you guys remember that was Tuesday. The next day, we gapped up, right? Just because, again, we were down 10% the previous week, kind of a dead cat bounce. The NASDAQ was up 700 points. If you guys remember that that nightly video, I said, there's no way in hell I'm chasing a 700-point move into supply. There's absolutely no hell. And what happened was the market reversed course, right? At lunchtime, a reverse course. And we went from up basically 700 points on the NASDAQ to being down 300 points. So the moral of the story is anybody who chased Monday and chased Tuesday got absolutely killed, right? That's the whole point. Chasing, you got killed. And then came yesterday, right? If you traded the morning yesterday, you kind of know that every single rally attempt yesterday in the morning got absolutely murdered. I mean, if you bought anything on strength yesterday in the morning, everything came in not $2, $3, $4. They were coming in 5, 6, 7 points. I could do a case in point example. Yesterday, I got long the Qs. Usually, I don't trade the ETFs, but it was a pretty good opening range. There was a lot of call buying. There was, bettors were anticipating something good coming out of Trump's mouth at the 2 o'clock kind of oppressor. We'll get to that in a second. So, I was watching the options market, and they were betting. So I got long the Qs at 424 on the opening range. So just to give you an idea of how volatile buying into strength yesterday was. So I got long and the Qs went up 40, 50 cents, hung out there, did nothing, came back in. I was down 60, 70 cents. Then they rallied back and they came back in and they rallied back. I was like, listen, if this thing doesn't go in off opening range, especially buying into strength in an incredibly aggressive market, I'm going to be out. So I sold the Qs, right? I sold the Qs, pretty much break even. And I watched the Qs not go down $1, not go down $2, not go down $3. The Qs went down $9. Okay, they went $9 from the time that I flattened out on the trade, right? Flattened out a trade. So again, every single time you kept on buying into strength, you got an incredible pull. Matter of fact, this was according to, I forgot what the source was. Forgive me, but I remember reading. Let me just get the notes here. This was the fourth most volatile week in the last 60 years. Again, I repeat this. So far, this has been the most volatile week in the last 60 years of average to range. The 5-day moving average in the S&P 500, not the NASDAQ, not the idea, but the S&P 500, who traditionally does not have the biggest average to range names. Of course, they cross over from time to time with the NASDAQ 100, but it was up over 6% for the week entering today. Okay, how crazy is that? Okay, the other three times in the last 60 years, the last three times this happened was Black Monday. And by a matter of fact, guys, how old do you think I am? Somebody asked me yesterday on social media, how was it like trading in the 1987 crash? What am I, 90 years old? Dude, I was 13 years old. Yeah. Right? So the last three times we were above 6% on volatility on average range, it was Black Monday, the financial crisis, and the COVID. Okay, just to put it in perspective how volatile today is. So we were waiting for the 2 o'clock presser for Donald Trump. Okay, for Donald Trump, and a random headline just comes out of nowhere at roughly about 1:15. 1:15, I wasn't ready for anything, right? 1:15, literally, I wasn't ready for anything. And they came the news that the fake news that was on Monday that was already long, which was a great session, apparently it's not fake anymore. So Donald Trump yesterday announced a 90-day pause to every single country in tariffs, exception for China, which they hacked up basically 125%. I think it was another added bonus today as well, but everything's a fog array at this point. And the NASDAQ, the Qs, right? The absolute Qs, they put up a $30 candle. I didn't even have a chance to react. They put up a $30 candle. Every single stock that I traded, Tesla went up $10. Nvidia went up $6. Everything. You guys saw, right? Meta went up $30. This was in one candle. So obviously, I'm not going to sit there and chase, right? I didn't chase the day before. I didn't chase the day before that. And I didn't chase the day before that. And I just sat there and watched the market literally go up 10,000 points. I'm obviously exaggerating, but you guys know the final numbers. And I sat there and I sat there and I sat there and I sat there. There wasn't even a pullback. I just sat there and just watched it go higher and watched it go higher and watched it go higher. As you can imagine, man, again, as much as as long as I've been trading, I'm going on my 26th year, I'm still a human being, man. As I'm watching, I was watching 2,000 points light up the scoreboard, I'm saying to myself, well, when the hell am I supposed to be, what am I supposed to be chasing, right? If I chased the day before, I'd be dead. If I chased the day before that, I'd be dead. So why are we going to chase today? So where was it going to chase? The first 30-point candle, the next 30-point candle, the next $10 candle, what was it going to chase? And as you can imagine, after the close, I was depleted mentally. I was incredibly depleted mentally. And I just sat there and I go, how did I mess this up? And the reality is, when you think about it hours later and a day later, I didn't mess this up, right? I didn't mess it up. I followed my rules, right? If you chased 99 out of 100 times on anything, you get slaughtered, right? Case in point, the previous 2 days, the one day that you could chase, well, you probably had the biggest move in the last 20, 25 years. So I was feeling depleted, and that's why there was no nightly video last night. I just couldn't mentally go through 15 minutes of me of sitting there watching a 2,000-point move on the NASDAQ after every single rally, every single move on strength until a news event got faded. And I just sat there depleted, mentally shot. I felt like a 900-pound elephant was on my head. So I took the night off. That's why I'm recording the video tonight. I woke up very, very tired. As you can imagine, mentally, my mental capital completely burnt out yesterday, but I was in one piece, and that's the most important part. I didn't break the rules. I didn't break my discipline. I didn't let the bright lights, separate me from reality. And as much as it sucked watching a 2,000-point rally, literally watching a 2,000-point rally, I'm okay, right? I'm okay. And today was day two. Okay, today was day two. Again, a lot of news hit the tape today. Number one, you have a headline coming out of Trump that they are potentially considering delisting all the Chinese duly registered, duly listed stocks. So like Baidu, Alibaba, right? All those names, JD. Very, very interesting. So the trade war is getting very, very aggressive. I mean, really, really aggressive. The question is China going to respond? You pretty bet your little tushy they're going to respond. And despite today's day, right? Despite today's sell off, and again, today was a pretty steep sell off, but despite today's sell off, and again, you had 1,000 point move on the Dow, which is 2.5%, 3.5% on the S&P, and 4% on the Nasdaq. In a weird way, right? In a weird way, this is called an inside day. Guys, this is an inside day today, right? As crazy as it sounds, this was an absolute inside day, which on the reality, right, on the surface is bullish. Because again, if you had a stock, an individual stock that went up $10 and the next day was only down $3, isn't that bullish? That's called, catching a breath. So on reality, in a weird way, we are kind of bullish. Here's the problem. This isn't reality. This is an event-driven market. It's absolutely all over the place. If you've been trading for the last couple of days, you know how the aggression is. Like I give you an example of my day trade. I only traded Tesla today. I traded Tesla 4 times. We had 4 or 5, maybe 6 bounces on Tesla. Some of those bounces were $3, $4. Some of those bounces are 50, 70 cents, right? But the point is, today was a perfect example. And again, if you trade within channels, especially the PS60 theory, you kind of know our whole mantra is stocks trading from supply to supply and demand to demand. So no matter how crazy today was, and today was absolutely bananas. Today was a perfect example how stocks behave when they hit a level and they advance off that level or they get rejected off the level. So obviously this wasn't anything for me like yesterday, right? Or yesterday, again, I missed yesterday, that whole big rally, but at least it was gratifying to know that, again, I stuck to my guns, right? And the only thing you ask yourself as a professional trader or aspiring professional trader is don't deviate from what you're good at. Don't deviate from your comfort zone. Don't deviate from reality. And I accomplished that, right? Even though it sucked yesterday to be sitting there and watching there and be like, wow, this absolutely sucks. In an odd way, man, I think I did my job, right? In an odd way. It's not going to show up on the scoreboard from yesterday, but in an odd way, I did my job. And the more we talked about it today in the webinar, some people yesterday, had record days, and some people were like me, who just like kind of just sat there and you're like, wait a minute, where's this bounce? Where can I get a dip? And that dip never came. And my question today in the webinar was, which candle should we have chased on Tesla? The first $12 candle, the next $20 candle, or the last $25 candle? Which one should we have chased? And that's the point. You're not supposed to chase, guys. For the 99 times out of 100 that you get killed, if you chased yesterday, congratulations, man. You should go play Powerball at all. And I'm not saying that from a jealous point of view. I'm not saying that from an envious point of view. I'm very, very proud and very happy for anybody who caught yesterday's rally. I think it's absolutely awesome. The question is, how did you do it, right? How did you do it? It was very, very tough. It was very, very tough to get an improbable entry that wasn't chasing. So if you did chase and you made some money, I hope you're putting it away. And again, because again, there's 2 ways to make money. There's making money and making money properly. And again, like I said, if you're a professional trader, at some point you have to draw the line from chasing rainbows to settling into reality. And again, at the end of the day, as much as yesterday sucked mentally for me, I think I did my job. So going into tomorrow, I am not sold either way, even though we are in kind of inside day today, technically, right? You could see yesterday's high on the Qs were 467.83. Yesterday's low were 409. So again, this is an inside day. So I will be watching the Qs to kind of give us a little bit of direction tomorrow. If we get back above today's highs on the Qs, which are 255.60, I'm going to start looking for longs. If we start losing the 5-day moving average, because you can see here, the Qs got rejected today at the 10-day, but they held the 5. You see that? So tomorrow, we're either going to reclaim back the 10-day and start pushing to yesterday's highs, or lose today's 5-day moving average, which is roughly 432.83. And again, guys, think about how sick this is. Look at the range of an inside day. Yesterday's range was 415 to 467, right? Mind-boggling. Today's range on the inside day was 432 to 455. That is just absolutely bananas. And obviously, on this type of range, whatever gets confirmed first, I will be trading that channel. So everything is putting in an inside day today. Tesla, right? I will be watching Tesla above the 20-day tomorrow for a long, below the 5-day for a short. I will be watching NVIDIA tomorrow above the 20-day for long, below the 5-day for short. You kind of get the point. So every single stock, and I don't care what you're trading, every single stock is going to be affected whether the Qs reclaim the 10-day moving average tomorrow on the upside or if they lose the 5-day moving average today. So tomorrow, again, expect another wild one for the year. We are down about 13% on the Qs, and that's despite yesterday's massive rally. So you can really see where the aggression, how incredibly important it is to understand your levels. But yes, news is definitely taking a major rip into everything, right? And until we get a news cycle that is kind of absorbed or kind of going into tone deaf territory, expect expect this volatility to handle. Again, maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight, we get some news out of China, potentially increasing their tariffs. As we say all the time, we shall see, said the blind man. We shall see. Guys, God bless everybody. Stay safe. And with God's help, I'll see you all tomorrow.